Welcome to BBC London, I'm Paul Murphy-Kasp. First this lunchtime, a man has pleaded guilty to plotting to murder a Christian preacher at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. Edward Little, who's 21, had planned to buy a gun to carry out the attack on Hatton Tash. He'd initially denied preparing to commit acts of terrorism. The BBC's Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sanford was in court.
Yes, Edward Little appeared by video link from prison here at the Old Bailey this morning, and he had previously pleaded not guilty to the charge of preparing a terrorist act. But today he changed that plea, and when the charge was put again, he pleaded guilty to preparing a terrorist act. And the act was that he was planning to murder a Christian preacher called Hatton Tash at Speaker's Corner in Hyde Park. Hatton Tash is a regular at Speaker's Corner and often argues with people from other religions there. When Edward Little was arrested, he was in the middle of a taxi ride for which he paid £300 to get from Brighton to London. He was arrested on the A2 in southeast London, and he was carrying £5,000 in cash, which police say was going to be used to purchase a firearm. He has admitted in his plea that he was trying to buy a gun, that he gathered £5,000 in order to buy that gun, and that he was intending to target Hatton Tash. Though his barrister Tom Godfrey said Mr Little accepts researching the intended target being Hatton Tash, he does not accept the intended target being the military or the Metropolitan Police. The court has heard that Edward Little has a very violent past, with a series of convictions dating back to the age of 15, including assault, wounding with intent, possession of a knife, some drug dealing offences as well. But obviously at some point during the course of that offending, he seems to have developed an Islamist ideology. He was certainly using the name Abdullah in the encrypted messaging app that was found on his phone, but also in those encrypted messages were what the police say were his detailed plans to spend £5,000 buying a weapon and attack at Hatton Tash at Speaker's Corner in London. Edward Little will be sentenced on July the 21st.
Firefighters are tackling a huge fire that broke out last night near the M25 in Surrey. It's thought to have started at around 10 p.m. at a self-storage facility in Byfleet. Local schools have been forced to close, and people who live nearby are being advised to avoid the area and keep windows and doors closed. The Conservatives have taken over running Southend City Council as a minority administration. The Essex City had been run by a Labour-led coalition for the past 4 years, but that changed yesterday when voters voted in local elections. Simon Dedman has more.
Since the elections, new faces have been taking control of councils, but most are not like Tony Cox, Conservative. Here in Southend, Labour, the Lib Dems and Independents have been in coalition, but now the Tories have taken over. The Conservatives had a dreadful set of local elections, but here in Southend they gained one seat, and with the help of Independents, they've now formed a minority administration. It means the Tories can action their plans, but they're 4 seats short of a majority.
We're under no illusion that that's going to mean there's going to be a lot of collaborative working, and that's collaborative working with all groups. Well, the first things that we'll be focusing on, we will abolish the 6 to 9 parking charges, as well as reversing the planned parking charges in our car parks, in our parks.
Labour made gains in the local elections, but their partners, the Lib Dems, lost seats and they move into opposition.
It's disappointing. We've spent the last 4 years in a joint administration with other groups. Unfortunately, the other groups haven't had as good an election as we did, and it was always going to be difficult to form a stable administration this year.
Elsewhere in Essex, it isn't the Conservatives clapping. In Brentwood, it's the Lib Dems, who formally took over from the Tories. With Labour, they have a majority of just one. Like Southend, getting decisions passed in this chamber will be
difficult. It's going to be a tough road, but we're up for the challenge. We will look to try and improve in small bites what we can, protecting our green belt, changing the planning philosophy that was in this council chamber that just approved for the developer's sake.
Now the work begins with council officers to bring about the change the public voted for. Simon Dedman, BBC London, Southend.
A planned strike next week by workers on the Elizabeth line has been suspended. Members of the TSSA union were due to walk out on May the 24th, the first anniversary of the line's opening, in a dispute over pay. They've now decided to pause their industrial action while they discuss a revised pay offer. Now, musician and international beatbox star SK Shlomo has collaborated with Bjork, performed with the likes of Damon Albarn and Ed Sheeran, and been artist in residence at the South Bank Centre. They're also the brain behind London's first beatbox academy. But alongside those accolades, they have also had a well-documented struggle with mental health. As part of Mental Health Awareness Week, they've been discussing their new show, Breathe, which explores coming back to performing after working on their mental health away from the spotlight. Wendy Hurrell has more.
It's a play that turns into a rave. The audience literally up on their feet, dancing in euphoria by the end. But you go on a roller coaster journey to get there. It mirrors the writer's life. Here in SK Shlomo's studio, a demo of how Breathe comes together on stage using technology, including a live looping system called Beast.
If you say something to Beast, like what do you want to say? Like 1, 2, 3.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, okay, that's cool.
Wow, wow, wow.
And then I use that to make.
Wow, 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 wow. And a very clever wireless glove that controls Beast on stage.
When I point my finger, it should loop the last thing that I say. Last thing that I say. Right. Last thing that I say. 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 Last thing that I say. I'm using the beatboxing and the live looping and the technology to soundtrack it, but it's a story of what happened to me when I had been on the outside at the peak of a career, like playing main stage festivals, but inside I was really in a bad way with my mental health. So I've used this as a platform to come out as non-binary. Like previously I'd been, I hadn't told anyone that I was queer. So the show becomes like a celebration of who you are.
Ambassador for Calm, the campaign against living miserably, the message is ask for help to find ways to cope, as they have done.
Beatboxing is this ultimate portable way to like if you're waiting and your brain's like, you can just be like, no.
Wendy Hurrell, BBC London.
And for more information about mental health for you or someone you know, the BBC has pulled together a list of organisations which can help. Just search for BBC Action Line or ring the number on your screen. Well, there's been some absolutely gorgeous weather this week, but will it hold out for the weekend? Here's Kate Kinsella.
Good afternoon. We've had quite a bit of clouds so far today. You can see over in Twickenham first thing this morning, largely overcast skies, just little bits of brightness here and there. We've also had some spots of light rain, some drizzle. It's a very slow moving front, but as we head through the afternoon, it should dry out and we'll start to see the cloud breaking as well in the form of sunny spells, especially towards the end of the day into the evening. Could just still run into a shower further west you go, but temperatures today 16 Celsius. Overnight tonight, the cloud will continue to break, so after a fine evening, clear skies, underneath which temperatures are going to feel quite chilly. Could see a bit of cloud edging in towards dawn on Saturday, coming in from the northeast. Minimum temperature down to 5 Celsius. Now for tomorrow morning, if you do wake up to the cloud, it's not going to last for too long at all. It will disperse fairly quickly, and we've got a day of sunshine. High pressure is in charge across the weekend. Could see a bit of cloud through the middle part of the day, but that again will break up and disappear into the evening. Temperatures a touch warmer at 18 Celsius. Now we hang on to the high pressure for Sunday, so very similar conditions, perhaps a bit more cloud towards Sunday afternoon, but the temperature's still getting up to 18 or 19 Celsius, and the fine and dry spell continues into next week.
Well, that's all from me. For more on the day's top stories, head to our website, including an update on the small business owner in London taking on a French social media giant over the name. Assad is here at 6:30, so whatever you're doing, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Bye-bye for now.